Horrid Lorry is the second episode of the 5th series of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. This episode introduced us to new villains, the 3 Horrid Lorries, referred to as Lorry 1, Lorry 2 and Lorry 3. And this was the first ever episode of Series 5 I ever watched on the VHS tape Spooks and Surprises, and the first episode of Series 5 I've watched as a whole. But does it still hold up today? Let's find out. It is always a busy time for the engines who are pulling and pushing trucks about to work hard at Brendam Docks. One morning Percy is late to collect his train, and Cranky begins to criticise him that the ships cannot be kept waiting and that Percy needs to show some more respect for them. While Percy complains there is too much work for the engines, Cranky suggests that it would be better if a lorry did his work. Percy is shocked by this, and later at the sheds he tells the Avengers what Cranky said. James and Harry are dismissive, but Percy worries that a lorry might truly come. Unfortunately, Percy's fear comes true as 3 of them arrive the next day. While Cranky is overjoyed, they also turn out to be incredibly rude and disrespectful. Lorry 2 calls Percy a lump of steaming scrap iron, which angers him and he puffs away. Later, Percy sees Lorry 1 being rude to Thomas and James. He also calls Percy a little green goblin on wheels and says that he will be scrapped. Thomas and James are both mad and disgusted at the lorry's behaviour, labelling him as horrid and despicable. At the quarry, the second lorry runs across Toby and tells him that he belongs at a museum and tells him to go away. His driver tells him to ignore the lorry and they go to the flour mill, only to find Lorry 3 there, who tells Toby that they're doing his work now. The foreman tells Toby's driver that he is sorry for Toby's replacement, but the times are changing. Toby's driver brushes it off and tells the foreman that even though Toby is old, he is still reliable, and tells him that they will head to the farms, who they hope will still be able to use them. Toby heads to the farm while the third lorry grins thinking he has won. As Toby trundles towards the farm, he enters a gorge where he watches the second lorry he met at the quarry having trouble navigating on the treacherous road above with his load of rocks. The lorry then falls off the cliff and crashes into the rocks below, much to his mildly injured driver's annoyance and Toby's horror. The smashed lorry is taken to the docks where Percy begins to laugh at him and calls him a lump of steaming scrap iron like the lorry called him. The lorry swears vengeance against Percy, who just laughs and wishes steam at him. Butch the breakdown vehicle arrives with the flour mill lorry. Butch's driver explains that the flour lorry was overloaded and broke down at the crossing in front of Donnell. Toby teases the 2 lorries as well, claiming that they're not so useful now, which makes them growl in rage. James whistles excitedly as he watches men bring in the first lorry on a barge after it had foolishly reversed into the ocean in a fishing village. Thomas arrives, laughing at the disgraced lorries, and calls them the Brothers Grimm, smashed, broken, and sunk. The lorries are taken away and, despite promising to, do not return. The engines commit themselves to work even harder to ensure they never will. Horrid Lorry introduces us to the first road vehicle villains we'd ever seen since George the Steamroller back in the 4th series. The Horrid Lorries, also referred to as Lorry 1, Lorry 2 and Lorry 3. The lorries were arrogant, mean, rude and disrespectful towards the engines. The lorries believed that the railway was inferior to the roadways and also enjoyed teasing the engines for their appearances. However, the lorries were also very careless, and this led to their downfall. They appeared to be based off Ford and OG range lorries, which were once a common sight around railway yards. And despite not returning for the TV series in a main role, their models were used for cameo appearances within the TV series, and they made a couple of appearances in books, magazine stories and video games such as Trouble on the Tracks. And if you're lucky you could spot some of their models at the Thomas Discovery exhibition at Drayton Manor's Thomasland. It just shows how popular these characters are despite having one major appearance in the series. And I love the voice Michelangelis gives the lorries in this episode. He gives them all this really gruff accent.
What's that steaming lump of scrap iron doing here? Be off with you. Oh look, it's a little green goblin on wheels. You'll be scrapped. Just you wait and see. Well. No wonder this railway's in a mess. You belonged in a museum, not working in a quarry. We 3 are doing your work now. You're too slow. I'll be back, so you can wipe that silly smile off your smoke box. Grrr.
And that's quite a nice change of pace, because we're normally used to hearing his friendly, softer voices. And while Scruffy did have quite a gruff voice in Series 4, this was the first time Michelangelis did a really low voice for the characters. And it really pays off in this episode.
Well, bust my boiler, what a horrid lorry, exclaimed Thomas. Make the dirt jump! Agreed, James.
The episode also introduces us to Butch the breakdown vehicle. who is very serious about his job and loves working, especially with his railway friends. Despite his size, Butch has a kind heart and is always ready when his services is needed. But in his first appearance, we don't really know that much about his personality, since he's shown as faceless in the episode, and he made several cameo appearances in the TV series until he finally got a starring role in the series 15 episode Stuck on You. Butch is based on a hybrid of a scanmail constructor and a scanmail pioneer. According to the official website, he was constructed out of parts from a diesel, a lorry, and a crane. That's very interesting trivia about a character who didn't really make much of an impact on the TV series until the CGI series. The story is set up to be another one of those road versus rail stories, much like how George the Steamroller's first appearance was in Series 4. And the inspiration for the scene where Toby talks to Lorry 2 at the quarry came from a book called The Wisbeck and Upwell Tramway. And it's actually quite fitting to have some of the lorries take Toby's work, as it makes a really good callback to the first series when it's mentioned that Toby's jobs were taken by the cars, buses and lorries. And from Toby's point of view, it's like what happened on his old branch line is happening all over again. That's a really nice touch there. And Lorry 2's crash scene is one of my favourite crash scenes for the whole series, as it wasn't caused by any troublesome trucks or anything, it was all by his carelessness. It's also the third time a non-human character has suffered a physical injury to their face, since Lorry 2 ends up with a black eye after his crash. And from doing research on this episode, I discovered that his crash scene was actually the last known scene filmed for the 5th series. That's very interesting when you consider the fact that this was the second broadcasted episode for Series 5. Horrid Lorry is another one of those episodes I always enjoy looking back on whenever I'm in the mood for classic Thomas episodes. I enjoyed it loads when I was a kid, and I still enjoy it as much to this day. It's a great introduction to 3 new villains for the TV series, and even though they never appeared again in any other episodes aside from faceless cameos, they still left quite an impact on the fan base. So much so that they've been sold as various bits of merchandise, including Ertor and Wooden Railway. It's a fun episode with one-off villains who were never seen again but left a huge impact on the fan base, and it's definitely worth re-watching whenever you're in the mood for Thomas the Tank Engine and friends. It's easily among one of the funnest episodes you'll ever see.
Oh look, it's a little green goblin on wheels.